So, check this out. They say Daniil Medvedev is just a rude player with a bad attitude who smashes rackets and fights back at the crowd.
The match last night ended with a dramatic meltdown thanks to a mishap by a member of the media.
And for Medvedev, tough season of majors for him.
But here's the thing. Behind that fiery temper lies one of the most resilient and determined athletes in modern tennis. His journey is a roller coaster of highs and lows, and understanding it makes his triumphs all the more impressive. Daniil Medvedev has one of the most captivating stories in tennis history, filled with struggle, doubt, and ultimately, glory. From a young boy in a small Russian town to becoming one of the top players in the world, his path has been anything but easy. With his unique blend of talent and grit, he has fought against the odds to achieve greatness, even when the world doubted him and called him names. It all started in the bustling city of Moscow, where a young Daniil was drawn to the sport of tennis at just 6 years old. His family was poor, and tennis wasn't exactly the most popular sport in Russia at the time. But Daniil had something special, a fierce determination, and a natural talent that set him apart. Growing up, tennis was not just a hobby for Daniil, it was a passion. His mother was an amateur tennis player herself. She encouraged him to pursue this dream. But even with that encouragement, the path was fraught with obstacles. Daniil struggled to find consistent coaching and faced the pressures of competing in a country where the sport was still developing, and not many people cared about tennis. The early years of Daniil's career were marked by challenges. As a teenager, he joined a tennis academy where he was surrounded by other talented players. But unlike many of his peers who had the backing of wealthy families, Daniil had to fight for every opportunity. You see, Daniil wasn't rich at all, and tennis is an expensive sport. His training was intense, often requiring him to travel long distances for tournaments and practice sessions. He was 15 when he made the bold decision to leave Russia and go to train in France. This was a pivotal moment. Leaving behind the comforts of his home and the familiarity of his life in Russia, he faced loneliness and uncertainty. But Daniil thrived on that pressure. It motivated him to work harder and make his dream a reality. Straight away, Daniil started to get a bad reputation on court. When people mentioned his name, the first image that came to mind wasn't his blistering backhand or his tactical genius. It was his temper. Fans and commentators alike remembered the racket-smashing outbursts, the heated arguments with umpires, and the clashes with the crowd. John McEnroe once said, "I thought I had anger issues, but this guy takes it to another level." But rather than hindering him, this fire seemed to fuel him, giving him a unique edge on the court. Most people saw such behavior as unacceptable, a lack of composure that could cost him matches. Yet for Daniil, it was a reflection of an unrelenting competitive spirit. It's this intensity that drives him to fight for every point, to never give up even when the odds are stacked against him, and to approach each match with a relentless focus. With Medvedev, you don't just buy a ticket for tennis, you buy a ticket for drama. When Medvedev first burst onto the professional scene, he was often seen as a wild card. Ranked outside of the top 200, he was making a name for himself through sheer grit and determination. His game style was unorthodox, a blend of powerful baseline shots and an impressive defensive strategy that often left opponents frustrated. But with this rising star came controversy. Medvedev's first major outburst came during a match at the 2017 US Open. He was fined for unsportsmanlike conduct after flipping off the crowd during a tense match against the American player, Steve Johnson. This moment marked a turning point in his career, as many began to see him not just as a promising player, but as a player willing to challenge authority and the expectations placed upon him. This willingness to defy the norms of behavior on the court would continue to define his career. He often finds himself clashing with umpires and the crowd, leading to mixed reactions from fans. While some admire his authenticity, others criticized him for his lack of sportsmanship. This creates an intriguing dynamic that keeps fans captivated. If there's one match that cemented Daniil as more than just a bad boy of tennis, it was the 2019 US Open final against Rafael Nadal. Going into the match, Medvedev was seen as the outsider, the unpredictable Russian with a fiery temper, facing one of the greatest of all time. Most people expected Nadal to sweep him aside in straight sets, and at first it looked exactly like that. Nadal's relentless topspin, his sheer fighting spirit, and his experience on the big stage gave him control. He led by 2-0, and the match seemed all but over. The commentators were already preparing to crown Nadal's 19th Grand Slam. "Medvedev looks cooked," said one analyst. "He's fighting himself more than he's fighting Nadal." But then, something changed. Down 2 sets, Medvedev didn't crumble. Instead, he unleashed the best tennis of his career. His unorthodox game, flat, unpredictable shots, deep returns, started to frustrate Nadal. The crowd, who had booed him in earlier rounds of the tournament for his on-court antics, suddenly turned. They were on their feet cheering for the Russian underdog. As John McEnroe exclaimed during commentary, "Love him or hate him, you've got to respect this fight." Medvedev stormed back, taking the 3rd set and then the 4th. He was fearless, going for winners down the line, hitting aces at crucial moments, and standing toe-to-toe with Nadal in marathon rallies. The New York crowd, known for being unforgiving, began chanting his name. He went from villain to hero in a matter of hours. In the 5th set, Nadal's experience finally showed. He dug deep, saving break points and outlasting Medvedev in brutal rallies. After nearly 5 hours of tennis, Nadal triumphed 7-5 in the final set, collapsing in relief. Medvedev had lost, but in defeat, he had won the respect of the tennis world. In his runner-up speech, Daniil displayed unexpected humility. He thanked the crowd for turning around and supporting him, joking that without them, he wouldn't have found the energy to push Nadal that far. "I was fighting with myself, I was fighting with you guys," he admitted. "But you gave me the energy to be here." In 2020, during a match at the Australian Open, Daniil faced off against a tough opponent while the crowd was firmly against him. Frustrated by the boos, he smashed his racket against the court in a fit of rage. The sound echoed through the arena, and the moment became a highlight reel of his temperamental side. Some fans booed him for it, while others applauded his passion. Daniil's reputation for smashing rackets has become a trademark of sorts. People are expecting it to happen, and when it doesn't, there's a sort of disappointment. In a sport where composure is often admired, his occasional outbursts have set him apart. There was a particularly infamous moment during the 2021 Miami Open when he smashed his racket after losing a crucial point. The incident sparked debates about sportsmanship, but it also highlighted the sheer intensity with which he plays. His emotional roller coaster often spills over into his post-match interviews, where he can swing back and forth between self-criticism and frustration, leaving fans and analysts debating his mindset. He often admits that he struggles to control his emotions during high-pressure matches, a revelation that resonates with many athletes who face similar challenges. Despite the controversies, his raw honesty has endeared him to a segment of fans who appreciate his authenticity. They see him as a player who wears his heart on his sleeve, unafraid to express his frustrations. Daniil has acknowledged the need to manage his anger better, stating, "I know I need to improve my mental game. It's something I work on every day." Following his Grand Slam success at the 2019 US Open, Daniil's career skyrocketed and his ranking started going up. He consistently reached the later rounds of major tournaments and climbed the ATP rankings. His game evolved. His serve became a weapon, and his baseline play was a masterclass in precision and power. Nadal himself said after, "He's a fighter. He's young, but he's already one of the toughest opponents you can face." In 2021, he reached the Australian Open final, where he faced off against Novak Djokovic. Though he lost, that match solidified Daniil's place among the elite players in the sport. He was no longer just a rising star, he was a legitimate contender for every title. But as with any athlete, the journey is rarely smooth and the ups and downs keep coming. In 2022, Daniil faced another setback during the French Open, where he struggled with his form and bowed out earlier than expected. It was disappointing for his fans. Critics were quick to question whether he could handle the pressure of being a top player. But instead of letting negativity consume him, Daniil used it as fuel to improve his game. Daniil Medvedev's mental strength is one of his greatest assets. After the disappointment of the French Open, he knew he needed help, and he turned to a sports psychologist to enhance his focus and composure on the court. He understood that tennis is as much about mental fortitude as it is about physical ability. His hard work paid off during the 2023 season. Daniil returned with renewed energy, clinching titles and demonstrating his ability to perform under pressure. He reached the semifinals of Wimbledon and the finals of the ATP Finals, showcasing his resilience and determination. His journey has not just been about titles, it's also been about personal growth. Daniil has often spoken about the importance of mental health in sports, emphasizing the need for athletes to take care of their mental well-being. His openness about struggles with anxiety and pressure has resonated with fans and fellow players alike, making him a more relatable figure in the sport. In 2024, Daniil faced one of the biggest challenges of his career at the Australian Open. Seeded third, he went into the tournament with high expectations. Each match was a test of his mental strength and physical endurance. The final was a rematch against Jannik Sinner, who had become a formidable rival and #1 in the world. The atmosphere was electric, filled with tension as both players fought for supremacy. Daniil's temper flared at points, but he channeled that energy into his game. With each set, it became clear that this match was about more than just a title. It was a battle of wills. In a breathtaking 5-set match, Daniil emerged victorious, clinching his second Grand Slam title. This victory was not just a testament to his skills. It symbolized his journey from a temperamental young player to a composed champion who could handle the pressures of the sport. But let's talk about the 2025 US Open, because this is where drama reached a new level. Daniil arrived in New York with high expectations but faced immense scrutiny. Seeded third, the pressure was palpable. Early rounds were tense, with boos echoing from sections of the crowd who remembered past controversies. The intensity grew with each match. By the quarterfinals, Daniil was visibly frustrated, muttering to himself, slamming his racket against the ground, and pacing like a caged lion. Every line judge and ball boy became an unwitting participant in his mental chess. Then came the semifinals, where Daniil's infamous 2025 temper truly made headlines. Facing a top 10 opponent, Benjamin Bonzi. Every call seemed to ignite sparks. A disputed line call sent him into a fury. Daniil was mad when, with Bonzi serving at 5-4, an advantage in the third set, a cameraman walked onto the court between the Frenchman's first and second serve, causing a brief delay that the umpire deemed a retake of Bonzi's first serve. He threw his racket, shouted in Russian, and gestured toward the crowd. Fines were inevitable. By the end of the tournament, Daniil had been fined a staggering €36,500 for his on-court behavior and racket smashing. Headlines around the world screamed, "Medvedev out of control," and "Russian temper shakes US Open." But behind the chaos was a method. Daniil understood the psychological warfare, both against himself and his opponent. Off-court. Daniil's reactions were equally dramatic. Analysts debated whether he had crossed the line of sportsmanship. Fellow players commented on the intensity. Some found it unnerving, others oddly admirable. Daniil himself shrugged off criticism with trademark honesty. "Yes, I got fined. Yes, I smashed my rackets. But every time I do that, I remind myself why I fight. Tennis is mental, and if the mind falters, the body follows." He later reflected that these moments were lessons in self-control, focus, and understanding the fine line between passion and recklessness. The 2025 US Open also marked a split with longtime coach Gilles Servara. After nearly a decade of collaboration, the decision was mutual but emotional. Servara had been with Daniil since his teenage years, shaping his tactics and mindset. The separation signaled a new era. Daniil admitted, "It's hard because Gilles is part of my story. But sometimes to grow, you have to step into the unknown. I need someone who challenges me in new ways." As of 2025, Daniil Medvedev stands among the elite in tennis, with multiple titles and a reputation as a fierce competitor. His career is still unfolding, but his story is already a powerful narrative of resilience, determination, and growth. Daniil's journey is a reminder that success is not just about talent, it's about perseverance through adversity. He has faced critics, injuries, and the pressures of being a top athlete, but he has always risen to the occasion. Today, as you watch Daniil Medvedev play, remember that every match is a reflection of his journey, a journey filled with struggles and triumphs that have shaped him into the player he is today. He is not just a tennis champion. He is a symbol of what it means to fight for your dreams, to rise above challenges, and to prove that with hard work and determination, anything is possible. Daniil Medvedev is not just a player with a temper, he is a warrior on the court, a fighter who has turned his struggles into strength. From the streets of Moscow to the Grand Slams of tennis, his journey illustrates the heart of a champion.